Well, hello there! I'm Lostpool, and welcome back to Year 4 of the Wild Territories. And, man, did I put this year off! I didn't even start drawing until the 16th, so if things look a little rushed, that's why, and I blame my work schedule. And the fact that, like I mentioned last year, my computer keeps crashing. And that might have had a certain side effect. See, Clamberclan and their horrible luck rolled another in-game mass extinction event halfway through the year. Except, immediately after reading the cause, a flood, and the first name, the game crashed. And when I reloaded the moon, it didn't trigger again. So I had a decision to make. I could roll my own flood extinction in Clamberclan to be fair, but as I also mentioned last year, Clamberclan was already dangerously low on cats, so I really didn't want to roll an extinction for them. So I decided the game crashing was StarClan saving their poor tiny clan, and I took it as a sign to seek out kits in Clamberclan. So they ended up having a bit of a kitten boom at the end of the year, but then I went to Winterclan and realized they were overpopulated on the same moon, and mass extinction triggered for Clamberclan, so I just took the mass extinction and pushed it somewhere else. So I ran a manual flood event in Winterclan. I did throw in the cat whose name I saw die in Clamberclan, just to be fair, and I even rolled with them for a 3 times likelihood for them to die, but they decided to defy those odds. So let's get into that event before jumping into Winterclan. But before that, let me just quickly throw this trigger warning up on screen as per usual. This is a Warrior Cats video. Be ready for blood and animal death and all of that fun stuff. So, watch at your own discretion. Dark Dawn moves through the territory silently and hesitantly. They don't want to cross the border into Winterclan. They could very well get attacked before getting a word out, but they feel it's necessary at this point. They need answers. The dream from last night still haunts their mind, or however it was Shademark had brought them to their dad if it was real and not a dream. Their attempts to get Shademark to leave that dark place had fallen on deaf ears, though. But the other cat, the one that had found them on their way out, that had offered to wake them up, they recognized the Winterclan heir, but why would he be in such a dark place? And offering to help a cat from another clan out of it? They need answers. But answers might have to wait, as a fearful yall breaks through their thoughts, bolting forwards to the unguarded Winterclan camp without any more hesitation, only to find it completely flooded, water rushing through and out of the camp, towards the sea that borders OceanClan. It takes a dark moment to spot the cat the yall came from, Gillsprout clinging onto the camp's edge, one of their medicine cats unconscious in her jaws. Gillsprout meets Dark Dawn's eyes pleadingly. Dark Dawn moves quickly to grab the medicine cat by the scruff, aiming to pull her up, right as another rush of water comes, knocking Gillsprout away with a pained yelp. Dark Dawn can do nothing but stare agape as the Winterclan warrior disappears under the water. All they can do is pull the medicine cat up to safety. They shake her and press on her belly until she wakes with a ragged cough, water sputtering out for a moment before she seems to panic and scream. "Dahlia!" Dark Dawn has to pin the medicine cat down as she moves to make towards the water again. "No, she was in the den! I have to help her!" "No one can get down there," Dark Dawn assures softly. "Stay here and breathe. I'll check downstream for you." Luckily, the medicine cat agrees, letting Dark run off to see who else they can find. They don't expect to practically trip over a tiny, sobbing kit dangerously close to the edge. Claw marks in the damp dirt next to her tell a story Dark Dawn chooses not to think about. They think for a moment about bringing the kit back to the medicine cat, but another cry for help downstream makes that decision for them. They pluck up the kit and go running towards the cry, finding a few warriors clinging to Brambleroot, keeping him held as a large tree halfway in the water pins his tail. Dark sets the kit down and moves over to help shoulder the tree, helping to shove it off his tail and into the water, soaking all of them but freeing Brambleroot's bleeding tail without pulling him in. Dark Dawn goes to hand the kit off to the other warrior, quickly informing, "Your medicine cat is upstream." Take them there. Have you seen anyone else? Warbler Star was in the clearing with Shimmer, right before the water hit, Brambleroot coughs out. I saw them for a moment after. Dark Dawn nods and promises to go look for them, running with the water flow for only a few minutes before they find her, the Winterclan leader Warbler Star, floating down the rushing stream. Taking a deep breath, Dark Dawn plunges into the icy water, quickly paddling over to Warbler Star and getting her back to the shore, taking all of their strength to pull them both out. But they manage it. Warbler Star wakes as they drag her back towards the others. A haze of exhaustion over her eyes, but she still has enough sense to register who Dark Dawn is, saying she's not sure why they're here, but they have Winterclan's thanks. It seems they have more than just Winterclan's thanks, though, as that night they find themselves waking back in the dark forest. At first scared they'd see Mossy Needle, until they hear him speak. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. I wanted to thank you. Dark Dawn is surprised, but relaxes. You again. I wanted to thank you. You saved my clanmates. My friend. Yeah, well, I wasn't just gonna let cats drown. I don't belong here. They see him flinch slightly, but he makes no defense, leading to them asking softly, What did you do to get here? He's quiet for a long moment before responding, What I had to. They don't get to ask for clarification before he continues. My past doesn't matter for you. Not as much as what I can offer you now. I can help train you. Not just to fight, but to come here as you wish and navigate the woods. I can help keep you safe while you're here, so you can watch over your sister. Dark Dawn is quiet for a long moment, but can't make themselves refuse. Alright, we'll get into Dark Dawn and their drama later, but with Winterclan and their Star Clan, we're starting with someone not mentioned in the flood, as our first death this year was a pretty sad one. Kinkshade died at 22 moons old. She and her siblings were finally told by Talon Nettle who their dad was early in the year, that it was Bloodstar of Mimic Clan. Bassfern was patient enough to wait till the gathering to meet him, but the twins wanted to go that night, sneaking out and into Mimic Clan territory to try to meet Bloodstar, only to run into the pack of wolves that roams Mimic Clan territory instead. Kinkshade was killed trying to defend Civet Heart before Bloodstar and his night patrol did in fact find them, and managed to get Civet away from the wolves. But Kinkshade couldn't be saved. Around this point in the year is when the mass extinction was triggered, and our first death of that was sadly the beautiful Shimmer at 74 moons old. This sucks. I was really hoping she'd get a mate and pass on her extra toes mutation or her pretty pelt, but no, even with the extra toes, she couldn't swim enough when the camp flooded. She'd been so cute earlier in the year, hunting with Gillsprout and catching more prey than they could carry back themselves, and theatrically dying when one of the kits killed her. Speaking of Gillsprout, she also drowned in the flood at 36 moons old. She actually managed to repay an old favor and drowned saving Basilbur. She doesn't regret it, and feels like she finally paid Basilbur back for saving her so very long ago. And she was finally reunited with her brother in StarClan, even being placed next to each other in game for a bit, so I had to draw them reuniting. Our next death, and yet another founder, was sadly Dahlia Bloom at 69 moons old. I really thought Goldstrike would go before her, but dang. She had actually managed to bring back a mother and her kits a few moons before, and one of those kits did choose to become a medicine cat apprentice later, so I like to think that kit did so in honor of the cat that brought her into this home. At least in part. Next up, we have Anya, Heatherflood, and Ibis Kit. I've put these three together because Anya and Heatherflood are both new faces in the clan, part of the kitten boom we had, as they were both mothers invited into the clan with their kits. Anya had been invited in by Dahlia Bloom with her two kits, Luck Kit and Violet Kit, while Heatherflood joined invited by Branch Snarl, bringing her 4 kits, Ibis Kit and Gorse Kit / Paw, who we sadly see here as well as Tusk Kit and Cedar Kit. Anya had been a wanderer before being invited in, and about 4 moons before the flood, wandering around and meeting many strange cats before settling down in the clan to have and raise her kits. She died at 101 moons old, successfully saving Luck Kit, managing to place her child somewhere high before being swept away herself, Heather Flood actually joined a moon before Anya. She had been part of a loner group but got chased away when she fell pregnant, as it was seen as a sign of weakness. She had been trying to save Ibis Kit but couldn't find anywhere safe to get to, leading both of them to drown. Heather Flood at 89 moons old and Ibis Kit at just 3 moons old. It's a shame, because Ibis Kit was going to be a little terror, I could tell. She had been guarding the fresh kill pile earlier in the year while her mom was still recovering from birth, and then was constantly getting under Cat's paws. It's a shame we won't get to see the tiny terror grow up, and our first Kit death is definitely a sad occasion. Gorsepaw actually died about 5 moons later of yellow cough. He had been apprenticed to Daffodil Wing, a sensitive young cat that had to be comforted through his fears and insecurities on his first patrol. And he actually had Briartooth whispering in his ear at one point in the year, a few moons before his death. I don't think Briartooth was up to anything nefarious talking to him, based on someone else he was whispering to later. Maybe just comforting the apprentice through the sickness. But he passed at 8 moons old. His warrior name would have been Gorsejoy, which is one of my favorite suffixes, so I'm so sad we won't get to see it yet. That's all the deaths for this year, so finally into the living cats, starting with our leader. Warbler Star has been stressed with all the deaths this year, having lost a life in the flood helping one of her kids to safety. So, down to 8 lives already. She's been hearing the voices of the dead a lot this year. Mostly StarClan, but she's caught glimpses of Briartooth and heard his whispers now and then as well, which I think has been stressing her out a bit, as she did snap at an apprentice and berate them for not doing their chores, which isn't unusual for Warbler Star, but also isn't good. Savette Hart, our heir, has had a busy year, having had 2 apprentices this year. She helped one of Warbler Star's kits when they stumbled over their own paws, and then got that kit as an apprentice the next moon. Then, when that cat earned their warrior name, she was given another apprentice 3 moons later. Which could be a lot, but honestly, almost every cat got an apprentice this year. There were just so many kits from last year. She did good with both apprentices, and did promise the kits that she would protect them, so she's really enjoying being a mentor. Even if it did crush her to see her twin die. Begging Kinkshade not to leave her as Bloodstar's fighters dragged her away from the wolves. She was absolutely devastated, but was given her second apprentice a few moons later as Warbler Star's attempts to pull her out of her depression. Which has worked so far. Into our council. We have Branch Snarl, still as the council lead, who actually came out as trans this year. She now uses she-they pronouns, which I think the word for is demi-girl, but I'm not positive. But she has been making jokes about Brambleroot being sad about not having a brother all year. They also had an apprentice this year, like almost everyone else, and got to see them earn their warrior name and was beaming with pride. Honeyfang also got an apprentice this year, and actually adored it. She had already been super close with this cat as a kit, catching them when they climbed too high, and then setting a good example for the younger cats afterwards. So I just had to assign them to be Honeyfin's apprentice, and to my surprise, she actually was really sweet to her apprentice this time. Which we'll talk about more when we get to that cat. Talonnettle was chosen for the council this year, replacing her own daughter for the position. She had an interesting start to the year, getting a tail scar after it being caught under a falling tree, then refusing to warn Winterclan about a badger on their territory, and then stealing prey from OceanClan uncaught. She then sang a song at Kinkshade's vigil, which kinda made me want to cry, I'll be honest. I've never seen that before. And then she immediately got white cough afterwards, which quickly progressed into green cough. I think she was just too upset to take care of herself until the medicine cat apprentice and the mediator apprentice convinced her to actually take the herbs and continue on, if only for the kits she's lost and still has. And seriously, can we keep a consistent council just once? We've had a council member die every year so far. Ugh. Into the medicine den. Violet Paw is our only active medicine cat right now, as Basil Burr is already in the nursery again. Though she's still training, Violet Paw and will be back in the medicine den as soon as possible. For at least a moon or 2, Violet Paw will be on her own. She was a super cute kit, with statuses like buzzing after swallowing a cicada and has soft little paws, and chose to become a medicine cat to avoid any fighting as she's got a gentler heart at the core. Though she did take the opportunity to boss around an older cat when a warrior accompanied her to gather herbs. Luckily, that cat took it in stride and let the young apprentice boss them around. She does have a twisted leg, and I promise the game put her in the medicine den. I did not pull a Cinderpelt. She chose this on her own. I was fully expecting Ripplecit to take the role of medicine cat, but he did choose to be a warrior on his own, and Violet Paw chose to be a medicine cat on her own. Phoebe is still sticking around. What a man. He's also been a lot more positive this year, seeming to relax greatly since he, like almost everyone else, also got an apprentice, as Ashglade actually chose to become a mediator this year. He earned his full mediator name at 13 moons old and was honored for his insight, thriving as a mediator and doing a lot of help advising younger warriors about their fights and crushes, actually being one of the biggest influences on one of Warblerstar's kits inviting in his kitty pet mate, telling him to be true to his heart. With Ashglade thriving this much, I might look into BB retiring next year, as he's really getting up there in age. Into the Warrior's Den, Brambleroot has had a pretty busy year. He started off by trying to ask out Daffodil Wing, which, of course, he got rejected. I mean, I guess they could go poly. Daffodil does have a very slight romantic interest in Brambleroot, but it's pretty tiny. But Brambleroot then helped bring home a lost Clamberclan cat, who I'm guessing was someone new like Ronnie. He was nice about it though. Before he got his tail damaged in the flood, then it got crushed by debris in the rushing water. He bounced back real fast though, and by the end of the year, ended up showing off and winning a 2v1 spar against Branch Snarl and Brave... insert suffix here. Deer Snout has had a pretty uneventful year this time around. She did spend a few moons of it in the medicine den because of a rogue attack that left her with a permanently weakened leg, so she's been knocked down a little bit. But then she saw a wolf on the patrol near the end of the year. Managing to put together, it was lured over the border from Mimic-Clan after Civet-Heart's attack, so reporting it to the council, though a bit hesitant, before actually rejecting Fennelmoth at the end of the year, leading to a very awkward situation in camp for a while as they tried to avoid each other. Thing is, she actually has a really high romantic like for Fennelmoth, so I'm really not sure why she turned her down. Speaking of Fennelmoth, she has not recovered from her girl fail ways. The rejection only added to it. She still has not succeeded on a single hunt. She also saw the wolves while on a patrol and ended up running away with a whimper, which, while cute, would not have been very useful. But then she went and started spending time with the kits, teaching them before they ever got out of the nursery, and actually got an apprentice she trained all the way to warriorhood. Somehow. Since their patrols did not have much luck together either, as we will get into more as we get into the former apprentices. Before them, though, is Bassfern. He lost another sibling this year, and is feeling it. He's been a little depressed ever since. Before the loss, he was giving a kid a badger ride around camp, and then got begged by all of the kits for one. He also got an apprentice, and it did seem to perk him up a bit, actually being a good mentor to the sensitive yet talented young apprentice he got. In fact, he got a lot of other cats to crush leaves under their paws with him in Leaffall, including their apprentice and a few of the other kits. But by the end of the year, he was thinking he was meant for something greater, so we'll see if he chooses to do something about it next year. Finally, into the former kits with Warblerstar's kits, starting with Jayflit and his mate, Axel. Starting with Jayflit, he was apprenticed to Civet-Heart, having to be nudged to touch noses with the air, and then managed to catch a mouse on his first patrol, much to the mouse's surprise and his own. Then, not even 2 moons later, he was asking Civet-Heart if it was okay if he had a kitty pet friend. And then all the way through to his warrior name kept being seen with this one pretty kitty pet. So once Jayflit earned his warrior name at 11 moons old and was honored for his justice, I let him try to invite the kitty pet in. I couldn't resist, they were so cute together. So this is the former pampered kitty pet, Axel, who uses any pronouns, and only joined the clan for the sake of their boyfriend. Though slightly worryingly, Axel is daring with a deep, dark forest bond, so I don't know if he got that after he joined, or could now put a name to what he was already seeing before. I love him. I really hope he's not evil or something. Little side note, I do not know all the names for different genders. Despite being part of the queer community, my view on gender has always been pretty apathetic. So I never really asked about it when people were like, actively talking about it in high school, and every time I try to look it up, all I'm getting is non-binary. Though this might be in part because I struggle to read large blocks of text. So, if anyone could fill me in on what Axel or Branch Snarl or any other future cats would describe themselves as, I'd be eternally grateful. My guess is Axel is all gender, but that doesn't sound right, so I'm not confident enough in that to write it down yet. Next up is Brave Burst, who not only earned their warrior name at 12 moons old and was honored for their intelligence, but also came out as non-binary. And this is the poor cat who was apprenticed to Fennelmoth and just immediately inherited her poor luck, failing to catch anything on their first patrol or any after. They still graduated on time, but so far their luck has not improved, getting buried by branches on their first patrol as a warrior and having to have the rest of the patrol dig them out. But on a better note, they were pretending to be a big scary warrior for the kids, and then had a nice chat with a cat from Winterclan who I think was probably one of their siblings, who also earned their full names this year. More on that in the clan section. Firestripe also earned his warrior name at 12 moons old, being honored for his wit after being mentored by Brambleroot, who he had an active apprenticeship with. He was helping around between camp duties even after he followed his own paw prints on his first patrol, then helped bring home a lost Clamberclan cat, before being part of a patrol that fought one of the wolves off the territory. Somehow the entire patrol, including him, got away uninjured, even though he was still an apprentice at the time. Then he got what is definitely my favorite status so far, which read, Firestripe isn't very good at this self-reflection thing. And I died laughing. Finally on to Daffodilwing and Basilbur's kits, starting with Frecklefluff, who earned the cutest warrior name at 12 moons old, being honored for his tranquility. He also came out as a trans guy this year, which I forgot to change on the drawing, but lots of cats coming out this year. Frecklefluff was mentored by Deersnout, and she taught him to, funnily enough, be more likely to have trouble adapting. He did manage to successfully catch a rat on his first patrol, though, bringing it back proudly. But once he became a warrior, he got buried by falling branches on a patrol and ended up getting lectured by Warblerstar for wasting time, making him highly resentful of her, especially since he was already being iced out a bit after growing up to look almost exactly like his grandmother Marsh, especially worrying with him earning the formidable fighter trait. I might have to watch his dreams in the coming years. But next up is our double-eared boy, Rippleclaw, who was mentored by Honeyfin and earned his warrior name at 11 moons old, being honored for his strength, which is also worrying, because this is the cat Briartooth kept whispering to this year. Not only did Ripplepaw complain about nightmares of shadows on his first patrol, but also on a later patrol came across a deathberry bush, and Briartooth actually stepped in to keep him from eating them. So that, mixed with Rippleclaw growing up to be bloodthirsty, we have yet another cat training in the Dark Forest. Briartooth is trying to make him a strong enough warrior to protect his clan from any threat, and even though Honeyfin had been a wonderful mentor to Ripplepaw, he still values both of his mentors. I just worry that, as Marsh's grandchild, Briartooth might not be the only cat training Rippleclaw. Crest Valley, our clan's first prophet, meaning he has an easier time picking out and deciphering omens and signs from StarClan, even without them directly talking to him. He earned his warrior name at 12 moons and was honored for his faith. He was mentored by Branch Snarl and also followed his own paw prints on his first patrol, but then later drew blood in a training practice against Ripplepaw, which I think was just instinct and self-defense, because he doesn't have any other traits or statuses that would worry me, actually already thinking he had a vision. But I do love the duality of our bloodthirsty Dark Forest trainee brother and our Vision having StarClan prophet brother, and I can't wait to see what they get up to. And into the apprentice den with the last of Basil and Daffodil's first litter, Vinepaw, who is being mentored by Talonnettle but has not yet earned his warrior name. Mostly due to a pretty serious leg injury after being grabbed and dropped by a hawk. He actually just got out of the medicine den last moon and has been learning to adjust on his new weakened leg. Which is a shame, because he was practically showing off in his apprenticehood before the accident. Bringing back so much prey on their first patrol, he and Talonnettle couldn't carry it all, then chasing off rogues and fighting the wolf, but I guess he just wasn't looking up for danger. Here we have Violetpaw's sister Luckpaw, who is apprenticed to Bassfern, going in sunbathing on their first patrol, which wasn't very productive, but was very relaxing. She has been doing well, though, hunting near two-leg dens with Bassfern and chasing off small dogs, getting a lily of the valley to wear from Bassfern on the day of their ceremony. She actually has partial hearing loss, meaning both she and her sister were born with a permanent condition, so I'm wondering if maybe something happened to Anya when she was pregnant. Now on to Heatherflood's remaining kits with the sisters Cedarpaw and Dustpaw. Starting with Cedarpaw, who is apprenticed to Civetheart, who on their first patrol watched Civetheart climb up a tree and leap down onto a kingfisher bird to catch it from the one place it wasn't looking. Then, after Gorsepaw's death, she tried to beg StarClan to send him back, which was of course heartbreaking. She's been springing back quickly though, and is currently trying to recruit all of the apprentices to go on an adventure. Meanwhile, Dustpaw was apprenticed to the new warrior Jayflit, and has not had much good luck on patrols. Though she learned about two-leg traps on her first patrol, she then got both her and Jayflit sprayed by a skunk on the next. She also curled up next to Gorsepaw at his vigil in order to sleep next to her brother one last time. And, ClanGen, can you stop breaking my heart? Into the nursery, and guess who's here? That's right, Basilbur announced she was expecting yet again on the last moon of the year. Really couldn't wait to have more kits. She was so happy with the last litter, I was shocked, but not surprised, honestly. Though Daffodil Wing intends to take on Den Dad duties this time as soon as he is able to, since they need a medicine cat to train Violetpaw, and to help keep the clan healed. Not that he's complaining. I think Daffodil Wing would be a permanent Den Dad if he had the choice. Aside from kits, neither of them were up to much this year. Basilbur had the urge to wander this year, wanting to roam and hear more stories, while Daffodil Wing mostly spent the year with his wife. They went on a super cute herb gathering date where he ended up overworking himself till Basilbur had to calm him down. Then he recounted the gathering for her and her patients, making sure they didn't miss a thing, and I love these two. Our lone elder is still Short Talon, who has spent the majority of the year telling very tall tales to all the kits around. Jayflit especially has kept coming back to hear stories even after he was grown. She did actually have a nightmare about a rushing river the night before the flood, so she's really started to question why StarClan is sending an old lady like her such signs. But on a better note, she also decided to start a beetle collection, which was very cute. That's everything for Winterclan. Obviously, the Dark Forest is acting up a lot this year with so many new trainees. And that's not just in Winterclan, so let's get into Clamberclan without any waiting. Who, as I mentioned, originally triggered the mass extinction before the crash, and that was enough to scare me into realizing this clan needed more cats desperately. So, in the later half of the year, I not only sent out every medicine cat on their own patrol, but I also temporarily turned on cats having kits with an unknown second parent. And because of this, we might have had a bit of a baby boom, so you'll see that at the end of the clan, but let's first start with StarClan. Because of the non-canon mass extinction, we only had one death this year, that being Sablechill, early in the year at 41 moons old. He was out in the territory tracking a scent from OceanClan that had wandered into the territory, eventually finding one of their warriors up in a tree. And he didn't hear their warning in time to avoid the dog that had treated them. I do feel bad about his death, but I have to be honest, I'm just relieved he didn't get murdered because I was terrified Goldstrike was gonna kill Sablechill. Like I said, that's the only death, so into the living cats with Inkstar. Inkstar is still yet to lose a life. I cannot believe it. And though she's been having a better year than the last few, with no ghosts in her dreams this year, the clan has been struggling a bit this year. We've never quite gotten to the point of cats going hungry, but Clamberclan has just barely been scraping by on prey all year, and it's been stressful to Inkstar, to the point she's started thinking about kitty pet life a few times. I hope she's just thinking about asking for or stealing food from them, not pulling a Hemlock Star, but I won't be sending her out on any solo patrols, just in case. She spent a good portion of the year comforting her daughter Shellpatch through some tough days, because there is something going on with Shellpatch that we'll get into. So Inkstar has been supporting her daughter as much as she can. Also, her dislike for Ferntail in-game is growing, which could be interesting. Speaking of, Ferntail is having a bit of a rough year. She got bit by a fox early on, which luckily didn't scar but left her in the medicine den for a few moons. She tried to advise one of the young warriors, who rightfully snapped back at her for the attempt. She tried to show off on a patrol and ended up just ruining the entire patrol so they didn't catch anything, and then was nearly caught by and had her pelt shredded by a badger, which I'm sure was traumatic for her after the whole Wolverine incident. Goldstrike has had a relatively calm year, especially with a new medicine cat they found and brought in. He's spent a good portion of the year eavesdropping on or wondering about Ferntail, probably still thinking about that prophecy last year. As I started sending the medicine cats out alone more and more, Gold was the most successful one, managing to find 2 litters of 2 kits which are currently in the nursery being taken care of by Onyx. Eagertail as well has not done much of anything this year. She convinced Goldstrike to tell stories on a patrol early in the year, hanging off of every word like she was still an apprentice. She was hoping for a message from StarClan later in the year, probably hoping to talk to one of her siblings, but mostly had just been very sleepy and also taking it easy with their new medicine cat around. That cat being Io, who joined very early in the year and has been taking the lion's share of the work in the medicine den to prove herself worthy of the clan. She did find a father and his 2 kids and bring them back alive, and was with Gold when he found the final litter of kits at the end of the year. But she's also been successful on almost every herb patrol she's taken, trying to keep the warriors healthy enough to keep hunting in the near famine. Speaking of warriors, let's get into them with Condorstem. And guess what? There's almost nothing to say about Condorstem. As usual, he did get an apprentice this year, much like everyone else. Well, he did do one big thing. And you know what, I'm going to reorganize the cats just to bring up what he did right away. Because Condorstem was actually the cat that finally managed to find and bring home Mosspaw, actually breaking the warrior code somehow to do it, since he got reported for breaking the code that moon. I think he just had to cross another clan's territory to find her. Mosspaw was given the name Moss Creek when she returned home at 25 moons old, and was honored for her amity. She's been hunting with Shellpatch a lot ever since she got back, and reunited with her old mentor Dark Dawn happily. She did get white cough near the end of the year, but she recovered quickly, just in time to get her tail bitten by a fox. Poor girl. But I'm happy she's back. Ronnie! I've come to really enjoy Ronnie. She definitely has a touch of StarClan to her, as she thought she'd had a vision at some point, trying to talk to Ferntail about it before she brushed Ronnie off, saying she'd eaten too many mice, which she was definitely wrong about because so many StarClan cats had been wanting to reach out to warn or talk to Ronnie. I really hope it's not about anything dangerous, and is instead about maybe the cat in Serpent Clan she was caught touching noses with. Shademark has had quite a busy year. She ended up getting upset and taking her anger out on a friend, which I think was Inkstar, because she has a sudden sliver of dislike for her mom this year. Then she got bit fighting a fox, and caught white cough later in the year. When she finally recovered, she was spotted waiting at the Ocean Clan border for a specific cat, which I think was an apprentice that joined later in the year. But she has also been stressed, just like Dark Dawn, who also has been incredibly stressed, wanting to lead their clanmates down the right path no less than 3 times this year. So worried for their sisters. They've been more careful though, shoving bushes in a badger den instead of going in themselves, and being wary of strange acting prey. They were reminiscing with Shellpatch later in the year before bringing in Mako on the last moon. And of course, has taken up training with Briartooth in an attempt to talk to their sister out of the dark forest. But does still intend to try to ask a Winterclan cat about him should the chance ever present itself. Frostbite joined when she was still an apprentice, being invited in by Shademark but apprenticed to Condorstem. According to Frostpaw, Ocean Clan wasn't happy with her kitty pet friend, and she was hoping the 2-legged taunt clan would be more accepting. She doesn't have the best luck though, seeing a loner bleed out on her first patrol before getting caught in a snowstorm the next year and scarred by Frostbite. And no, her warrior name wasn't naturally generated. When she earned her warrior name at 11 moons old and was honored for her spirit, the game named her Frost Nut, and I disliked it enough to change it, and just had to choose Frostbite. Finally, into our nursery, starting with Silkglade. Silkglade recovered and got to work this year, and then during my little kitten boom, brought home 2 kits he'd had with a loner, being the one that triggered the unknown parent switch. He really hasn't done much else other than spotting a wolf on his patrol. Elk Kit is a sweet little girl who loves to listen to others, apparently hearing Frostbite singing at one point, and has been following her around asking the young warrior to sing for her again ever since. While Char Kit is a pretty little girl and has actually been talking to Shellpatch late at night while others are asleep, having her explain things no one else will and giving the kid advice. What's a bit funny about them is Silkglade's mate rolled to have whiskers, and Char Kit rolled to inherit neither trait, while Elk Kit rolled for both of them. And then both kits rolled the 5% chance for a mutation. So I decided to give them both the same mutation, that being the snake slit pupils. So these babies have some strange luck with the dice rolls. Fun little side note as we get into the next cat. Thanks to the kitten boom, this is the first time since starting that Clamberclan has ever needed 2 pages for all their cats. So, Icy Minnow. Icy Minnow came in with his 2 kits, one of many cats brought in specifically because I was searching for kits. He also hasn't done much yet, just getting out of the medicine den and into clan life, and so far has mostly been wanting to critique the younger warriors' fighting techniques. Howl Kit is a male that has been thinking about being leader and has really looked up to Ferntail, while Crouch Kit has not enjoyed how many storms their home gets and is still upset about Goldstrike giving her bitter herbs once. Grove Kit and Fumble Kit were abandoned in the territory by 2 legs at 0 moons old, and found and brought in by Goldstrike. Someone whose cat had kittens and the horrible person just left them in the wild. Grove Kit has actually grown to look up to Shademark already, hoping to get her as a mentor. Well, Fumble Kit is currently sick with yellow cough, so I'm hoping for the best because I hate kit death and we really need new warriors. Birch Kit and Root Kit were found with a dead mother from another clan, though Goldstrike couldn't tell which one they were from. They were too young to remember anything, so they're making their home in Clamberclan now. They're still just potatoes at this point, so they don't really have any personalities yet, but Birch Kit was born missing a leg, and so help me, if he does not become a warrior, I will riot. And if you're wondering why we've only mentioned Shellpatch so far, it's because she's here in the nursery. Well, technically not. Technically, I played ahead of Moon because I was trying to see what Vinepaw's warrior name would be, and I admittedly don't know how to see it in the code. And that was one of the 2 messages that popped up that I could not go back on literally the next moon. I do know who the other parent is, because I looked, and it's not an age thing this time, but all I can say is Shellpatch had a really productive year before this, stealing prey from Mimic Clan, hunting with Moss Creek, guiding lost apprentices home, and chasing rogues off, but this is kind of all I'm focused on now. Finally, our last cat for Clamberclan is Onyx, who finally retired after seeing her daughter returned home. And the only reason I know she wasn't the one to bring Mosspaw back is because she was in the medicine den with a dog bite at the time, which did give her a weakened leg and added to her decision to retire. But she's happier now, relaxing and watching over her daughter from a distance. And that is everything in Clamberclan. I'm sure next year for this clan is going to be eventful. But for now, let's wrap up year 4 and look into our other clans. Starting with leadership, which hasn't changed this year with all the same leaders. Primstar has had a fairly quiet year, though she had 2 kits with Flightfoot, Wolfpaw and Bluepaw. She's actually mentoring her brash daughter Wolfpaw herself, the obvious heir to their clan's legacy system since her other daughter became a medicine cat. Bloodstar has had a bit of a bloody year, losing multiple cats to predators and rogues alike, and of course, finally finding out about his kits and getting to meet Civetheart and Bassfern, and watching Kinkshade's death. But the other half clan kits, Warblerstar's kids in Mimic Clan, did earn their full names this year, their names getting changed to Flood and Swan. Likewise, Curlystar's kits also earned their warrior names, Orchid Mask, Copperwave, and Amber Bracken. Ocean Clan did have a bit of a quiet year otherwise, only losing a few cats to the yellow cough outbreak. But also, Curly Star is getting a bit old, getting to be 140 moons this year, so we might have a new Ocean Clan leader here soon, but I'm just guessing. Speaking of new leaders, moving to the deputies. As Ocean Clan does have a new deputy after Rhymenettle died in the yellow cough outbreak, this is Fox Speckle. He is a trans male chimera cat, and I love him. So pretty. Mimic Clan also has a new deputy, Moon, who took over after Aha fell into a river and drowned. And Holly Branch is still here for now, trying to avoid the taunting from Wolfpaw about her taking Holly's position in a few months. And finally, the Medicine Cats. Serpent Clan has 2 new Medicine Cat apprentices. Minkfern is training his secret daughter Wishpaw, and Conifer Flood is training Primstar's daughter Bluepaw. Neither of which really chose this position, as Wishpaw was pressured into it by her dad, and Conifer Flood claimed to have had a vision about Bluepaw so he could train one of Flightfoot's kits, since Conifer Flood does not exactly trust Flightfoot. Mimic Clan lost a medicine cat when Trefoil Dance was killed by the beast that lives in the northernmost point of their territory, but otherwise the other 3 are hanging in. And though Ocean Clan's medicine cats haven't changed, they're both getting pretty old too at this point. Leaf Beetle is going on 140, and Voltage is going on 120 this year, so they'll need some young blood soon. And that is all for the Wild Territories this year. A very eventful year, as always. I can't believe I got this year done in time because I procrastinated hard on this one. I didn't even start drawing any of this till the 16th. Luckily, my job is long, but not very intensive, so I was able to do a lot of my sketching at work. Hence why the sketches you see this year and the last seem so much cleaner. They're technically the second sketch after I redid the paper sketches I do at work. Either way, I'm proud to finally be done with this one, and I think the thumbnail I did for this year is one of my favorites. I'll be putting it up in my DeviantArt in the next coming days, so look for it there if you want a closer look. Likewise, I also started a new tradition for these videos, when deciding I needed a new phone lock screen. So now I'm drawing a phone background for each year I do. And I do love how this one came out. But I might need to really look into a new computer here soon, as it's still overheating really bad. It was lagging out my drawing app so bad while trying to get this done that I ended up keeping a bag of ice on the back of my computer to keep it cool while I was drawing. I'm gonna have to at least take it in to see if it can be fixed here soon. But that is well and truly all at this point. I am really looking forward to next year, but I'm admittedly worried about the amount of work it's going to be, so I'd better start now. So I'll see you all next year. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy.